Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for our invocation afterwards. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to again gather here with our Merrillville Town Council and our council people. We thank you, Father, for the leaders of this town and for the police officers and firemen, that you would give them protection. Keep them, oh God, as they go forth in their services to protect the citizenship of this town. We thank you for the plans that are on the table and the things that you've ordained to make us, oh God, what you've ordained for this town to be. We ask, oh God, your protection upon our children, our schools, teachers, and others who are serving, Father, in this community. We ask your blessings upon these children who have made accomplishments, oh God, and will be awarded for those things. Bless this meeting. Give us, oh God, effective collaboration, and that the plans of the town would go forth without hindrance. And bless the meeting and bless the dialogue, we pray in Jesus' name. And we all said, amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Mr. January, would you call the roll, please, of the council?
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Here.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Present.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Present.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Present.
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Here.
President Bella.
Here.
7 present.
All 7 present. Thank you. Moving on tonight to public hearings, I'll call on the legal counsel to read this into the record. Mr. Hall. It's just proof of publication for this.
Yeah, we have reviewed the proofs of publication and can affirm that they are in order, such that this public meeting of the council might proceed.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. We will take up the actual ordinance later in the agenda. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable vouchers for the ARP and also the regular town business from March 11th. We have the approval of town council meeting minutes of February 25th and also the Dean and Barbara White Community Center committee meeting minutes of February 27th. What's your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilor Uselak, second by Councilor Pettit for approval of the consent agenda. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to presentations, I'd like to call to the front of the room here, please, the Mosby family, Miles Mosby and his parents. Actually, just right here, if you want to stand and face the front. Face this way, yep. And then our clerk treasurer, Mr. January, will read the declaration. You can go over there.
I just wanted to say this is a privilege. I know them prior to us moving to Merrillville.
Oh.
Flossmoor getting their haircuts at the same place, so I'm really proud of this family. They're doing a great job. So Town of Merrillville Declaration of the State of Indiana, the Town Council of Merrillville recognizes Miles Mosby for outstanding swimming accomplishments. Whereas 11-year-old Merrillville resident Miles Mosby is a competitive swimmer with aspirations of swimming in the Olympics. And whereas after competing against the fastest swimmers in the region, Miles Mosby has qualified to swim in the 50 breaststroke, 100 breaststroke, 200 medley relay, 200 freestyle relay in the 11-year-old age group in the March 21st state swim meet in Indianapolis. And whereas Miles Mosley was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes on October the 28th, 2020. And whereas although diabetes has created challenges in his life, Miles has faced those hurdles head on with a positive attitude. Whereas Miles, the Mosby family has received immense support from the medical team at Comer's Children's Hospital, the Friends for Life organization in Orlando, Florida, support groups, and many others. And whereas Tiffany Mosby, Miles Mosby's mother, has published books about her son's experiences, providing emotional support to other families facing similar situations. And whereas, despite the constant monitoring and challenges associated with controlling diabetes, Miles Mosby swims at a high level and inspires others. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of Merrillville, Indiana, hereby congratulates Miles Mosby on his swimming achievements and wish him the best of luck in the state swim meet, and asks the residents of the town of Merrillville to cheer him on as he represents the heart of the region in the competition. Let's rally together to spread awareness and educate others and actively support Miles Mosby as he continues his journey and his dream to one day swim for the USA in the Olympics. Approved and signed by the Honorable Town Council members, and attested by the town clerk on this 11th day of March 2025.
Okay, let's make it official. Counselors, I'll entertain a motion for approval of this declaration.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. We are very fortunate tonight to have another declaration to honor the Merrillville High School wrestlers. Mr. January.
Yes. Are the wrestlers going to stand up? Want to stand over there?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Come to the front, everyone.
All right.
And why don't we have the coaches come up also, please?
Coach.
Woo!
Great, thank you. Mr. January.
Congratulations, lady. I know we got some state champions here, and I'm going to read this, but wrestling was one of my favorite sports. I wrestled in high school, went to state, had a dislocated shoulder, but had a great time. Really proud of you all. Town of Merrillville, Declaration, State of Indiana. The Town Council of Merrillville recognizes the Merrillville High School wrestlers. Whereas Merrillville High School wrestlers have made history and achieved exceptional results on the mat during the 2024-25 season, and whereas girls wrestling was sanctioned by the Indiana High School Athletic Association ahead of the 24-25 wrestling season, and whereas Merrillville High School 24-25 girls wrestling team consisted of Joy Cantu, Izu Garcia, Honesty Lacey, Kayla Williams, Alani Alvarez, Charisma Lawrence, Patience Turner, Josie McKnight, Josiah Tuggle, Jalen Arce, Legend Blackwell, Koji Arnold, Julian Cantu, Camila Khan, Ziera Ogulusi, excuse me for butchering that, Megan Thomas, Zamari Williams. And whereas the Merrillville girls coaching staff consists of Paul Maldonado, Dave Maldonado, Sheila Larrett, and Juan Maldonado IV. Whereas Joy Cantu is a state champion in the 110-pound weight class.
Yeah.
Joy Cantu and the MS Girls Wrestling Team are highly ranked in the country, and whereas the Merrillville High School Boys Wrestling Team also had an amazing performance this season, and whereas boys wrestler Adrian Pellet is the state champion in the 165-pound weight class, and whereas the boys wrestling team is coached by Dave Maldonado, Paul Maldonado, Craig Fruth, and Tom Kelly. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana, hereby congratulate the Merrillville High School wrestlers for their history-making season and the outstanding accomplishments they made on and off the mat, and asks that the residents of the town help us in congratulating the accomplishments of the Merrillville High School girls and boys wrestling team. Go Pirates!
So I'd like to ask the counselors up here on the dais who graduated from Merrillville High School to make the motion and a second to approve this declaration.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second by the Merrillville graduates. I am also from 1935 graduate.
Class of 93.
I wasn't, oh, really? You were before me.
Wow, really?
Any questions on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Great job.
Go Pirates. Once a pirate, always a pirate.
Nice job, guys.
Yeah, great job.
Congratulations.
Jason, I butchered it. Yes. I'm telling you. Lord, have mercy. Is she? Jasa, I apologize for butchering your name. Which one is this?
Red hair.
Okay, all right.
Or the braids. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Coach Maldonado.
Congratulations. Oh, wow.
One time my son got in trouble in his class, Maldonado's class, and he thought I was going to take up for him. Oh, no. You got going to do this again? Mm-hmm. Right.
I hate it when it empties out. I know. Mm-hmm. It will stay.
Yeah, the Mosby guy, he was a politician in Indiana, Illinois, and he decided to move here. There are people waiting outside, I believe. We'll see.
Okay, everybody, moving on tonight to the standing committee reports, Budget and Finance. Counselor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. The only thing I have for tonight is a request to add the Resolution 25-19 to the agenda tonight for review and approval. So I'd like to make a motion to add that to the agenda tonight.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to add Resolution 25-19 to the agenda tonight. It just was omitted and didn't make the agenda. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We will add that to the agenda tonight.
Thank you, President Bella, and that's the end of my report.
Great. Street Department and Park Maintenance, Counselor Uzelak.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. President. Steve King and his staff have been doing quite a lot of pothole patching throughout the whole town, from the north to the south of Merrillville. And they have also been picking up a lot of trash. There has been approximately 300 bags of trash that Steve King and his staff have picked up so diligently. I have to thank Steve for that. And they're also doing maintenance on the parks, Meadowland Park especially. They are replacing the top of the shelter. And also the gazebo at the Prusen Park, the handrails had to be fixed there, and they're still working on it. And Steve also told me he wants to compliment his staff. They have been working so diligently with him and for the town. So thank you too, Steve, for the work that you guys have done.
Welcome.
That's my report, Mr. Bella.
Thank you. I do have a couple questions, if I may. I know we got a lot of calls from residents living on 53rd Avenue, which is our northern boundary with the city of Gary, and Steve was checking into that. Steve, do you want to give us a report?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of calls about 53rd Avenue. It's within our borders, however, that 53rd Avenue is in the roadway inventory for the city of Gary. Typically, how this works is we maintain our southern and eastern borders. For us, it'd be Mississippi Street, 93rd Avenue, and then 101st Avenue. Gary maintains 53rd Avenue. I verified that with NDOT yesterday. It's in their roadway inventory. They get the lane mile credits for it. They get the funding from the state for it. I did reach out to the city this afternoon, Mr. William Allen, who's the city engineer, and I'm happy to say that as of 5 o'clock this evening, they have crews out there patching on 53rd.
Wow.
So I went
That's
out there
fantastic.
to double check, and they were out there.
Very good. Thank you, Steve.
So
All right, good news. Moving on tonight to council affairs, Councilor Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, I've talked with Michael. He has a couple of ordinance. Ricardo, I think Joe may have a couple of ordinance. So I'm going to go ahead and officially call a committee meeting for next Tuesday. Margie and Leona and I have Plan Commission, so we're going to do it before Plan Commission. 5 o'clock next Tuesday, the 18th. One of the ordinances that Michael is working on, similar to the park impact fee ordinance, is he's been working with Sheila on the building fees. And we're going to be taking a strong look at that and looking at those. And I know Jerry, our new park superintendent, we're talking about the parks non-reverting fees as well. So I think we're going to tackle, Michael wants to tackle both of those fee increase ordinances at that committee meeting, Ricardo. So if you and Joe can be there, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay?
Anything else, Sean?
That's it.
Thank you. Personnel policy and employee benefits, Councilor Hardaway.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Environmental affairs, Mrs. Uselak.
Well, the only calls I've had regarding something similar to environmental affairs, people are throwing their branches into Kaiser Ditch. With all the windy days that we have had, I had about 4 calls, Matt, and maybe you could have your staff check out the Kaiser Ditch. They said there's a lot of branches being thrown in there from the windy days. Now, I don't know the exact addresses, just Kaiser Ditch is what I was told.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah, no problem. And in the future, if anybody calls, just have them call me direct because we can
Oh,
take
you
care of
don't
it.
care. I will. I'll tell
And
them to call you.
that way we coordinate with them directly. And that is a Lake County regulated drain, so whatever we see, we'll document, send it off to Lake County Surveyor's office, but it helps us to know the exact location if they just call us direct. So that way we can take care of it.
Very good. And I think you or Joe Fish have reported off of Jennings Street where it wasn't a fence, but something similar to a fence dividing the ditch and the street,
The guardrail.
the 2 subdivisions, and that was off of Jennings. I just wondered if the surveyor had put that back up.
Well, there's a guardrail, was that?
The guardrail.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guardrail.
We actually installed a new guardrail. I worked with Steve on that.
Yep.
And
Oh,
we had a
did you?
contractor go up and put a brand-new guardrail up, so yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
It's on both sides of the ditch.
Oh, good. I'll drive by and check it.
Okay.
Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you.
Mr. Bella.
Very good. Public safety, Councilor Hardaway.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Elections, public relations, and town beautification, Councilor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. I'll defer to Steve King to update us on anything. He looks so
What am I updating?
to update us on anything as far as our flowers for the spring.
Yeah, we've started the flowers. Everything's in the Mo's building right now, growing. We actually got a count yesterday. We've got over 1,900 plants growing in there right now as we speak. And as soon as, I think they're going to be working out there probably tomorrow on 93rd Avenue, cleaning up the planters and stuff. So there's actually a lot going on, so.
And I just want to add, this is the first year that we are planting our own flowers, so it should
Yes.
really save us a lot of money from purchasing the baskets and the things that we've done in the past. So we're excited about that. Thank you, Steve. I didn't mean to frighten you.
No, that's okay.
And I will have more updates coming. We are working to get a few of our new gateway signs and everything up. So more to come on that, but that is in full effect, so.
Good.
And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President. Later on the agenda, we have a resolution related to Panduit Corporation at the silos at Sanders Farm for a personal property tax abatement. This is the last resolution. As Mr. Hall and you alluded to, this is a public hearing for the finalization of that. And just as important, ladies and gentlemen, and I encourage you all to check your email, and Margie, dear, please write this down. This is
I will.
kind of important.
Okay.
Next Wednesday, we are all invited to tour the 1 million square foot building. Amazon is having a ribbon cutting from 11 to 1:30. They're bringing all of their folks in. They're inviting probably Congressman Ravan, state officials, county officials, the entire council and clerk treasurer, staff are coming in. They coordinated this with Mrs. Chilcott. So Sheila and I and Bob Pillman have had the pleasure of being through the building once. It is extremely impressive, and you'll want to see this thing. If you haven't driven around, there are a lot of trailers on the west side of the building, on the north side of the building, and on the east side of the building, and they're pumping product out of there 24 hours a day. So
That date.
that is Wednesday, the 19th at 11 o'clock. And that's all, Mr. President.
Very good, thank you. Utility Liaison?
No
Senator
report
Felton?
at this time, President Bella.
Okay. Parks, Recreation, and Dean and Barbara White Community Center, Mr. Pettit.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, Jerry, welcome aboard. He was at the first committee meeting with Shauna and I and the staff last week. Covered a couple different things. We were looking at cleaning services, and Shauna, I don't see that in our packet. Michael did not give me that. I think we still have to approve that in a public meeting, which we can do into the contract for cleaning services. Good news is that Core Construction, however it shakes out, is going to take care of the flooring issue on their dime. The town will not have to pay a dime to have all that flooring in the 4 community rooms replaced. So that's good news. On the heels of just celebrating our 4th anniversary, all of the sponsorships are going to become up for renewal that you see throughout the center. So all 3 basketball courts, the Methodist Fitness Center, the walking track, Mike Anderson Event Center, the committee and Michael and Jerry will be out soliciting and asking those current sponsors if they want to re-up for another 5 years, and we work that through the Legacy Foundation, and that goes into the capital. They either pay a lump sum or they pay yearly, and that goes into the capital fund that we can use to resurface the basketball courts or repair whatever needs to be done capital-wise. Another bit of good news from Mike Neal, our building manager, is that all 7 thermostats are up and running. I think, Jerry, everything is working well. I talked to a couple staffers there yesterday, and they're very happy with the conditions, the airflow and everything that's gone on. Again, Circle R and Train honored that. We did not have to pay for any of that. They honored the warranty, which was good. Coincidentally, yesterday, Barb Young and I took a group from New Carlisle around the center. They're thinking about building a community center in New Carlisle, which only has 1,900 people. It's just west of where I grew up, but they're looking at something, on a much smaller scale than probably 1 basketball court and 1, that kind of thing. But they were very impressed with the facility. Again, at that council affairs meeting, we're probably going to talk about the parks non-reverting funds. We're anticipating or contemplating doing something with the rock climbing wall. It has not produced the usage that we thought, and staff is recommending that we try and redevelop that area, possibly into like a spin class. Chris Geiger has been instrumental and just done a phenomenal job, Jerry, hitting the ground running with the programming and that. I know Shauna is going to be meeting with Chris and Ross Township on collaborating. We talked about that, about using other facilities, both township and school. This school thing continues to come up to us of, why don't we have a pool in the community center? Well, we don't have a pool in the community center because it's $5 million, number one. And number two, the operation and maintenance, and you already have a pool at the high school that all the residents should be able to use. So we've kind of we got to get past that issue or policy with the school board and the superintendent that seniors especially and residents should be able to use that pool. So that's something down the road we're going to talk about at the park plan. Again, the park plan, I know Taggy is going to have another. Did he set that date, Jerry, for the next input meeting?
Not for the meeting, I just know the deadline is the 15th.
There's going to be another public input meeting on the 5-year Park and Recreation Master Plan before he brings it to us for adoption. So that's enough.
Well, would you mind touching base about the event that the chamber had there, the Leadership Awards, 300 attendees?
Oh,
It was
yes.
quite
We've
impressive.
always, in fact, that was the very first event that was ever held inside the Mike Anderson Event Center at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. I always plug the sponsors. That was the first event 4 years ago. It's grown from 100 people up to 300 people, and we honored 11 different categories of businesses via a survey through the Crossroads Regional Chamber of Commerce. I'm very proud to be on the board of directors, and I chair that committee as well as the Gala Committee. And it was really an outstanding event. Once again, this year, the staff at the chamber does yeoman's work in promoting both Merrillville and Crown Point. It's a regional chamber, but it started out as the Merrillville Chamber, as I alluded to in misspeaking
John
that
Janik.
night. John Janik, yes. So, yeah,
One thing we don't think about is that's 300 attendees that get exposure to the center.
to the center.
And these are all business leaders in the area, so it was a really nice affair.
Now, hopefully, it keeps Jerry and Barb's phone ringing, and
Yeah.
they want to rent the space, whether it be the whole thing or one room or 2 rooms. We've got that flexibility, which is great. Oh, and one other thing, Mr. President, before I forget, we did receive the signed, fully executed lease from Boys and Girls Club. Mr. January, we probably need to look into, with Michael, the payment that they owe. They finally delivered the lease to Michael's office, so they're caught up for this school year.
Good.
And then we'll figure out, as we move on over the summer, what's going to happen there.
Okay, very good.
Oh, and I would also like to add that Steve King and his staff, they do the maintenance on the local parks. So that will be coming soon with spring coming up. They will be mowing the parks and taking care of the bike trail too.
And I have one more thing, Mr. President, I'm sorry, just to Vice President Neal. We did approve, Rhonda, the gateway signs, and we did the one park sign. Do we know, Steve or Rhonda, when, have those been ordered, or what do we need to do with those?
I'll have to check with,
So I think we were going to put it in Leona's at
Yeah, it's
Stefik,
going
the
to
park
Stefik,
sign,
sure.
and then an entry sign. We ordered one of each.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a schedule yet, but yeah, Stefik Park and then 93rd Avenue and Merrillville Road is where the gateway signs are.
93rd Merrillville Road.
Yep.
Very good. Moving on tonight to special committees, abandoned and blighted properties. Ms. Haynes Edwards.
Thank you, President Bella. We have code calls and ordinance violations, follow-ups, 360 of them. Pardon my alarm. Warnings that were issued, 61, and tickets that were issued were 36. There has been no change in the vacant, abandoned, blighted properties. We have 15 cases so far for 2025, and blighted properties are currently at 6 for 2025. That is all.
Very good, thank you. Special town projects, Counselor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We have a meeting coming up Thursday to go over all of our upcoming events, which we are going to look at 3, and that's going to be one that's coming up for Easter, Juneteenth, and then the 4th of July and the fireworks are the 3 that we're currently working on now.
Very good. And the Semi-Quincentennial Committee, Ms. Haynes Edwards?
Nothing to report at this time, President Bella.
Very good. Moving on to department and commission reports, Stormwater Management Resources, our director is Matt Lake.
Yes, thank you. Real quick, last Thursday, I attended the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission Advisory Board meeting, and I presented on two projects to request cost share for them. One is the Hendrick Street Drainage Improvement Project. I'm requesting $212,000, and the other one is our Stormwater Master Plan update, which is going to be a little over $39,000 in our request. And it was pretty well received, so if all goes well, I will then present to their full board next month, and then we will receive a yes or no vote at that point in time. But also, while I was at the meeting, I supported another project, and this was a Lake County Drainage Board project. It's for maintenance along Turkey Creek, all the way from Hendricks, all the way to the Hobart border. So that's anticipated to get done later in the year. And I'm also pushing for Kaiser Ditch maintenance as well. So we'll see what happens with that one. And so
Good.
We were also out at Southmore Park today. We had Badger out there doing hydro excavating, looking and double checking all the utilities before we finalize the plans and put them out for bid. Next week, I'll be at road school for a few days, so unfortunately, I'll miss the Amazon tour, which I'm sure will be great. And our stormwater board also approved a new John Deere tractor and Tiger mower. This is for our residential pond maintenance, so we're just increasing our fleet with regards to that, and that was a little over $210,000. And that's it.
Nice. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Moving on to the Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, our representative is Ms. Hardaway.
Next meeting is May 15th. That is all I have.
Very good. Lake County Solid Waste Management District, Mrs. Neal.
Yes, thank you, President Bella. Chaz was able to post the Lake County Household Hazardous Waste collection schedule on our website. It has the collection schedule for the entire 2025. The next date is March 22nd in Crown Point at the Lake County Fairgrounds. If you go and pull up the information, it'll also let you know what is accepted. And most sites are taking paper shredding, all is really except one for the whole year. But all that information can be found on the site. The next meeting is scheduled for the 20th of this month at 6:30 p.m.
Great.
And that's all.
Thank you. The Shared Ethics Entity, Ms. Hardaway.
Meeting will be tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Oh, okay. Anything about the Fire Territory Board, Mrs. Neal or Ms. Hardaway?
I don't have
Nothing to
any
report.
updates.
Clerk Treasurer's Office Report, Mr. January.
Yes, very brief. Last month, our payroll was $1,082,030.63. We also did receive a food and beverage check for $146,586.18. It hasn't been receipted yet, but it'll show up in the March reports. And that's about it.
All right, thank you, sir. Moving on to department reports, Parks and Recreations. Jerry.
Yes, so the Parks Master Plan Survey, last time we were here, we had about 53 surveys filled out. We're up to 149 now, so we've really been pushing that at the center. I also brought the QR code. If you have time after the meeting tonight, you can fill that out. Just to get a sense of what the needs are in the community so that we can focus our time and energy on best serving you all. We're finalizing details around an adult and youth yoga program, dance program, and a fitness program for all ages, anywhere from youth all the way to senior. So be on the lookout on social media, the website, and even on our marquee outside the Dean and Barbara White Community Center for registration opening. And then I just wanted to say thank you to the Streets Department for all the help and support and everything you all have been doing, maintaining the parks. It's just very appreciated, so.
Very good. Thank you. Police Department, Chief Nusis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Took a little while to get our numbers from January and February, just based off me not being here, but we also did something a little different this time. When we report the amount of calls for service that we have, That's just the actual calls. It never reflects how many officers actually respond to them. So in this report, I'm going to give not only just the calls for service, but how many officer responses. So I just wanted to give everybody the basis as to why these numbers are here. So for January of 2025, the Merrillville Police Department answered 2,682 calls for service. Out of those 2,682 calls, there was over 4,200 officer responses. So 4,000, that gives you an idea, because some of these calls aren't just a one officer call, it's multiple officers. So sometimes two, sometimes three, sometimes the whole crew. So like I said, of those 4,200, there was 492 traffic stops conducted and 324 tickets were issued. We had 105 adult arrests and 2 juvenile arrests. For February, we responded to 2,513 calls for service. Of those 2,513 calls for service, there were 3,800 officer responses. We had a total of 477 traffic stops, and there were a total of 447 tickets written. There were 80 adult arrests and 2 juvenile arrests. Also, this past Saturday, we had our physical agility and written test for new applicants. We had approximately 14 that made the cut, so they're on to the next step. We've had 3 officers leave in this past year, and that was 2 of them were retired, and then 1 went to a federal agency in the Marshal. So we had to get going on doing a new hiring process, so that's where we're at. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Planning and Building Department, Sheila Shine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to encourage the residents of the town of Merrillville to, as spring approaches, to consider please pulling a permit for the jobs that you will have done, your roofing, sheds, doors, windows, sidewalks, driveway replacements. And call us, find out is your contractor license. Please be careful about people knocking on your doors, giving them money, signing contracts. If you have a question, call us. We're here to help. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Sheila. Mr. King, anything else to add from the Street Department?
Yeah, just a couple quick things here. Yesterday, we had 2 new employees start. So we have officially begun the maintenance division, Parks Maintenance Division of our department. I think the guys are going to work out well. Our staff has been communicating with Jerry and Lisa. We've done an evaluation of the parks. We've given them a list of equipment that needs to be repaired or replaced. We're getting things ordered. We're getting garbage cans ordered and several other things. We're keeping the line of communications open. As Jerry jumps into things, we'll communicate more, but things are working well.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on tonight to general orders. We have the continuation of voting for ordinance 24-17, and I'll call on Town Attorney Mr. Hall for clarity as far as what we're doing and why.
Well, I will read a statement into the record, Mr. President. So, on February 27, 2025, the Lake County Superior Court in the Merrillville Town Court litigation matter issued a court order reversing its prior court order, which provided 2 things. It reestablished the town court without the necessary procedure for passage of an ordinance in accordance with applicable Indiana statutory law and in accordance with the Merrillville Municipal Code, which necessitates 2 separate readings unless otherwise allowed. The February 27, 25 order also reestablished the town court without permitting the clerk treasurer as an ex officio member of the town council to cast a vote in a public meeting in accordance with Indiana statutory law. We are still of the opinion that the trial court erred in finding the clerk treasurer could issue a tie-breaking vote, even though a true deadlock in voting did not exist. The actual vote that occurred on the reestablishment of the town court was 3 votes yes, 3 votes no, and 1 abstention. Under the Indiana Code, the Roberts Rules of Order, and the opinion rendered by the Indiana Court of Appeals in Evansville versus Fehrenbacher, this vote required a majority of the elected members present to cast their votes in favor of or against the ordinance, and the abstention had the same effect as a no vote. Tonight, we have been directly ordered by the trial court to have the clerk treasurer cast the tie-breaking vote on the 3-3-1 tie concerning the first reading of ordinance number 14-17, which would be the first step in reestablishing the town court. We will have the clerk treasurer read into the record the votes as they were cast on May 14, 2024, and then have the clerk treasurer cast his tie-breaking vote officially in this public meeting. Finally, since this is deemed a first reading of the ordinance, there will be no public comment.
Very good. So we will ask Mr. January if he wants to vote, and if he does, he can cast his vote and we'll record it.
Sure.
Mr. January.
I do want to vote, and I don't know, he mentioned that I was supposed to read this stuff again?
That's what I heard, yes,
Right.
read the roll, how we voted.
Correct.
Yes.
So as it stood, Vice President Neal abstained, Councilwoman Haynes Edwards voted yes, Councilwoman Chandler Felton voted yes, Councilwoman Uselak voted yes, Councilman Pettit voted no, Councilwoman Hardaway voted no, President Bella voted no. And in that regard, I vote yes to keep it open.
Very good. Ordinance 24-17 is adopted on first reading. Also on our agendas, we had ordinance 25-05 listed under second reading. It actually is a first reading ordinance for tonight. So without objection, we will move that to a first reading position. That is the ordinance of the town of Merrillville authorizing additional appropriations in the 2025 budget, general fund, and the rainy day fund. This is first reading.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Councilor Neal. For approval on first reading, the ordinance 25-05. Open for discussion. Trista, anything to add before we vote on this?
If anyone wants clarification on what the request is for, I certainly can add that information.
Why don't you just give us a quick, what are we doing here?
Sure. For the general fund, the $49,000 that's being requested is for some building improvements as well as the siren repair bill for the weather siren that has been pending. The $113,000 listed in the ordinance relates to the court attorney fees that are owed to the Harris Law Firm and expect to be owed yet later during the year. The $113,000 hopefully would cover what potentially might be needed for retainer fees and things through the end of December if things are to continue along that path. For the building department, the $2,000 and the $8,000 are for some additional items that we had discussed with planning and building during the budget season back in the fall, and now just affirming that those are needed and some software and things. As to the rainy day fund, that $193 is listed there once a transfer occurs from the casino fund to pay for the front loader that Council and Budget Finance Committee and ARP Committee have discussed for the street department. This is the way then to finalize the mechanism to pay for that piece of machinery.
Very good. Thank you, Trista. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. Mr. January, roll call, please.
Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Yuzlak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Aye.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on tonight to the actual second reading ordinances, we have ordinance 25-04. It's an ordinance to further amend the existing wage and salary ordinance and to modify salaries in the Park Department and change a position in the town administration. As you recall, at the last meeting, Mr. Griffin advised us we were adjusting some salaries and pay rates in the Parks Department. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Uselak, seconded by Counselor Neal for approval of ordinance 25-04 on second and final reading. Open for discussion. Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Yuzlak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on tonight to resolutions, we have Resolution 25-14. It's a resolution authorizing a transfer to the rainy day fund of identified monies pursuant to Indiana Code. This is what Trista was just referencing a minute ago. This will direct the clerk treasurer to transfer the following identified amounts to unobligated fund balance to deposit the credit of the funds herein into the rainy day fund, the corporate general fund, 10, 11, $50,000. Casino, the casino gaming fund of 193,591. And Mrs. Uselak, I'll accept your motion now.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Shi. Questions or comments? Anything to add, Trista?
I would first like to congratulate the 7 of you for finally getting some money into the rainy day fund. We've talked about it for many years. As you know, we had a positive cash flow in the general fund for the end of 2024. And we can finally, I understand 50,000 is maybe a small start, but it's a start, and you can finally afford to do that, which we've been working on, which is fantastic. We've got to have that rainy day fund for emergencies. And so at least now you can finally start that. And I really want you all to tap yourselves on the back because it's been an important goal. Hoping as we look back a little bit and evaluate 24 a little bit more, that maybe yet this year another transfer can be done, depending on how the finances, of course, during this year work out with the economy and things. The second transfer I mentioned already for the payloader, again, a mechanism to get the bill paid using the rainy day fund through the process.
Thank you, Trista. This is a resolution. A voice vote is adequate. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on tonight to Resolution 25-15. It's a resolution of the Town of Merrillville regarding a waiver of noncompliance. And for this particular resolution, we will have a public hearing. Mr. January, perhaps read this into the record. It's very short. First page.
Sure. 25-15.
Thank you. Yep.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Resolution 25-15, resolution of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana regarding waiver of noncompliance. Whereas the Town Council of the Town of Merrillville has heretofore adopted its resolutions, the resolutions establishing an economic revitalization area for certain property of Panduit Sales Corporation or an affiliate thereof. The taxpayer pursuant to the provisions of IC 6-1-1-12.1, and whereas the taxpayer did not file and/or made a late filing of the Form SB1 personal property, the noncompliance, and whereas IC-6-1-1-12.1-9.5 and IC 6-1-1-12.1-11, this is ridiculous. That is a tongue tire. authorize the town council to waive the noncompliance. Whereas the taxpayer has requested that the town council waive the noncompliance, and whereas the town council on March 11, 2025, held a public hearing pursuant to notice duly published in the Northwest Indiana Times, and has heard and considered the testimony of any person interested in the proceedings regarding the foregoing. Now therefore be it resolved by the town council of the town of Merrillville that the town council hereby waives the noncompliance.
Is there any public comment in regards to this resolution tonight? Please state your name and address for the record.
Brian Messarch, I live on 68th Place. These corporations, because the next resolution is going to be about the tax abatement, they want us to give them a break on taxes. How about you give some of the residents a break on their taxes? Why don't we give waivers to everybody? If they can't fill out the paperwork, they should not get the goodies. I've come down, I put in my FOIA requests, I've asked for SB1s, magically that request is denied. These forms are the things that provide the transparency to residents knowing we're getting a fair deal from the corporations who are getting tax abatements. It shows, yes, we are hiring people who live in your town. We are providing jobs for the people who live in your town. We are also providing these other benefits. Without this paperwork, we're just going to let them off scot-free, not even a slap on the wrist, and they still want to come with their hands out. Terrible, terrible idea.
Thank you. Mr. Pettit, do you want to offer any more? Why are we doing this compliance waiver?
Well, the first, when Silos at Sanders Farm was developed, when Crow Holdings bought the Sanders Farm, they laid out a 5-lot subdivision and built, are under construction on their 4th building. Panduit was a late transaction, and I don't know if Mrs. Chilcott and Lars from Panduit can elaborate on the chronology of it, but that was an outright building and dirt buy, as opposed to the Amazon building, the 1 million square footer. That's a lease that Amazon is paying Crow Holdings, and then the other 2 buildings that are out there would also be leased by Crow Holdings to whatever entity goes in there. So I don't know if that answers your question, or
Yeah, that's the reason. Any other discussion from the council or public comment?
Pablo Payan, 8031 Massachusetts Street. So my understanding is we're going to waive this document, and there will be no way to audit to make sure they're in compliance once the abatement is in place. Is that correct?
Yeah, not really.
No, Mr. President, if I could.
Go ahead.
The Economic Development Committee is myself, Mrs. Neal, Mrs. Uzelak, and Deanne Patina and John Jordan. They submitted their SB1. Everyone that applies for tax abatement has to have an SB1. That's a state form, as is the CF1, which they are required to turn into the town manager every year, that shows they are in compliance with what they said on the statement of benefits, that they've got a payroll of X, that they have so many people. I do want to stress to the audience, though, please keep in mind, and we've been advised by Ricardo and Joe, we cannot demand Panduit has to hire Merrillville residents. We cannot do that. It is a 10% goal if the worker is qualified for the job that they give Merrillville preferential treatment. But there is not a demand by the town council if we approve this later, there's not a demand that Lars is going to hire 10% Merrillville residents. We cannot do that. Can we, Ricardo?
We cannot.
Okay. Just to clear that up.
So there's no benefit for us besides them come in and pay less taxes for 10 years, and then they can come around and sell the building.
Well, there's a benefit, sir, in that if the 195 acres stayed vacant agricultural, it would be assessed extremely low. Even with the abatement and them getting 3 years free, 12% of the assessed value of a 455,000 square foot building is probably going to be 10 times what the Sanders family tax bill was when they were operating the farm. And Angie is in the process of working with Angie Guernsey to get those kinds of things put together for that tax talk and to inform the residents. But I can guarantee you, as I'm breathing, he is going to pay a higher tax bill in that 4th year at 12.5% than the Sanders ever did on that agricultural land. And that comes to us 100%. And I know this is controversial because it's in an allocation area, but all that money from Panduit is coming into the town.
Well, that's the next topic then, but thank you.
Any other discussion from the council? I think I need a motion on this.
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Pettit,
Second.
second by Counselor Neal. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to Resolution 25-16. It's a resolution confirming the designation of an economic revitalization area and approving the deduction from assessed value of personal property improvements for Panduit Sales Corp. This is the public hearing for this resolution. Is there any public comment on this particular resolution?
Bayan, 8031 Massachusetts Street. So most of you guys, I mean, I'm assuming everybody went to school, high school, college, and we went and listened to professors, right? They gave their lectures, we took tests on it, written it down, and we used that in our personal lives, in our careers. And I've stated before, what facts are we using to make these decisions, to give these companies these tax abatements? Okay, last time, Mr. Bella, you said that we had a librarian here, you said his research was out of state. This research here is from the state of Indiana, from Ball State University. Communities are using tax abatements to spur business expansion or attract new firms, but the process may be the cause of higher property tax rates overall and cost millions in lost tax revenue, says a new report from the Ball State University. Our analysis found that either abatements are leading to higher taxes for other taxpayers within the county, or that high existing property tax leads to heavier use of property tax abatements. We found that the frequency of used abatements also tends to a higher local property tax rates for existing taxpayers, Hicks said. For example, counties employing abatements sparingly and infrequently tend to see lower taxes. Counties offering more generous abatements tend to have higher tax rates for the existing households and businesses. This is research from a university. So if you guys went to college, you guys listened to the professors and not using that research in your lives to make decisions, I don't know what you guys base your decisions on. The other study was, and this was one of the documents that Ms. Neal, you sent to me. We report findings that suggest that as a job creation tool, local tax incentives in Indiana appear to be minimally effective. We also report that there is no strong relationship between abatements and the growth of assessed value over time. The implication is that on an average, the use of abatements as a tool for growing a property tax base is not particularly effective in short-term to intermediate term. So if we're not using research to conduct our decisions, how are you guys voting? What do you guys base it off?
Well, I base my votes on our experience here in the town of Merrillville.
So are you more experienced than these researchers?
I'm not saying that. I'm more experienced in what we did here in our town and how beneficial it has been for Merrillville.
We have no animal control. We have no community pool. We don't have a splash pad.
Not because
We don't have sidewalks.
Not because we're offering abatements to companies, though.
The police department doesn't have enough people because they can't hire. I mean, what achievements do you have? The Dean and Barb that's fallen apart? Gloating that it's been here it was built in 2 years. Now we got tile flying off the floor, HVAC systems, roof leaking. Now it's a private playground. The kids can't can't go over there because there's teams working out, other schools using it. So I don't know what you can use to say, hey, we've been triumphant in this. Unless you can tell me.
Samuel Payan, 407 West 89th Place. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate everybody. So just going on with Panduit again, I don't understand $1 billion revenue. I don't understand how you're going to keep rolling your eyes. That's fine. $1 billion, you're asking for money from us. That's called a wealth transfer from the rich, rich to the poor, working class, okay? And so tax abatement policies, while intended to encourage development, can sometimes perpetuate systemic discrimination by disproportionately benefiting certain groups like higher income and wealthier individuals, while potentially disadvantaging others, particularly racial minorities. We, Merrillville, are predominantly black community, and through this is causing a systemic discrimination approach to our black residents. I'm a sociologist. I went to school for that, and I see it here happening in real time. So wealth is often passed down through generations. White families tend to hold a disproportionate share of wealth compared to black and Hispanic families. This means that tax abatements and other tax breaks disproportionately benefit corporations, reinforcing existing wealth inequalities. Again, wealth transfer from corporations to from public monies to corporations, leaving black taxpayers having to pay more. So some of y'all on the phone, and again, you're representing the black community, and we're not even paying attention to our systemic racism that exists in here and the policies that you all are enforcing. From the Congressional Black Caucus, this is a study from the Congressional Black Caucus from D.C. One of the highlights they shared was in St. Louis, Missouri, educational disparities are strikingly evident. TIFs emerges as the costliest abatement program affecting both St. Louis public schools and all schools countywide. That could be said here as well, because again, that could have been more money to different pots that we can create more resources for more people. So again, just like the other gentleman said, I'm not sure if you all are even paying attention. I hope you all are. I tend to hope that I'm an optimist, and I hope that you all take away a little bit something, but it seems like we keep making the same mistake over and over and over, and we're not making some ground. And Pettit has, I don't know what kind of deals he has behind the door.
All right, sir, we don't do that up here.
I don't know. Okay. I'm just saying there's some things that we don't understand, and I hope we come to an understanding of those things.
Thank you very much.
Brian Messart, 68th Place. President Bella, if you want, I could go back and show you where in the past you talked against TIF zones. You were very much against tax abatements. And I'm kind of surprised that you've changed your mind. It's a little disappointing. But we, over the past few months, have been beating this issue, and a lot of the residents are against it. Maybe we do lack a certain understanding. I understand why the business is here. I'm a business guy. I get it. If I can get something cheaper, I'm going to get it cheaper. But when you move your business out of Illinois to Indiana, to Lake County, instantaneously you're paying less. You still got access to I-65, 8094, all sorts of transport. The benefits are built in, but the residents are asking themselves, what are we getting in exchange? What's the good deal? What are we getting out of it? And I'm sorry, but if we can't count on jobs for Merrillville residents, then what exactly is it bringing to our community? Because their tax dollars would be beneficial. And I'm absolutely sick and tired of Mr. Pettit mis-explaining. The money from TIF zones goes to the redevelopment commission, the RDC, the RDA, not the town of Merrillville. And we've already made it very clear, Mr. Griffin has explained it ad nauseum, that the town doesn't have to pay for the police and fire and whatnot out of TIF zones because that's an unstable supply of cash flow. That's silliness. That's absolute silliness. It's ridiculous. We need the money in the general pot so that we can pay for the things that we actually need. And yes, pools would be fun, splash pads would be fun, but our community center, that is a private playground, because when did the residents get to use it? When we start, like, hey, we're adding 20 police officers, we're adding 20 firefighters, we're gonna start up the park, First Responders Park, and have a fire memorial? When are we gonna start taking care of those things? That's what the residents are asking for. I understand what the business ask is, and I don't even necessarily disagree with it, but the residents were asking, what do we get? And if we could at least come up with a better explanation of what we are getting out of it, maybe we would not be up here complaining so much.
Thank you. Did you want to say something, Mr. Jenny Wright?
Correct.
Please do.
Yes. So I oppose the tax abatements and TIFs for a number of reasons. I also, at the same time, since I've been in the council, have learned how TIFs work. And if a TIF was used properly, it could be a benefit to the town in the sense that it could pay for firefighters, it could pay for first responders in general, it can give money to the school district. But the way that we're doing things, by giving abatements away, which basically takes the assessed value off of the property tax rolls for 10 years, and I mean not 100% over the 10 years, it does a disservice to the town. And when I say a disservice to the town, everyone that's in this meeting came through that front door. And on that front door, you notice some black duct tape that I put on there because the door is falling apart. We've got a roof that needs to be repaired. Our police officers are completely understaffed. There are certain needs that we have in this town that we will never be able to meet if we continue giving money away. I agree with everything that Brian and Pablo and his brother have said, because this is just another form of corporate welfare. It's also discriminating against every other small business that works their ass off in order to generate cash flow, but we're not getting the tax breaks that larger businesses are getting, because it's creating a competitive disadvantage. When you get a chance to pay no taxes and and the smaller businesses have to pay 100% of the taxes. We've got to come up with a rationale that is objective to determine whether or not somebody is going to get an abatement at all. Right now, everybody that comes through here is getting a 10-year tax abatement, and every business is not equal. And to find out that we can't even demand that they hire some people out of Merrillville, not that everybody wants to work in Merrillville, because I've heard that a lot of people don't show up, but for those that do show up, they should certainly have priority so that they can get these jobs that our tax dollars are subsidizing versus going someplace else. So, and then in regards to the fact that they already have an abatement on the property, and now they're asking for an abatement on some personal property that will be millions of dollars, and they're saving millions of dollars by moving across the border from Illinois, as I did, and a lot of other business people and families did. We're saving a lot of money just crossing the border. We honestly, just as a town, cannot afford to continue to give money away. It's costing us, and it's costing us something we can't afford, unlike Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, or unlike Michigan, California, and other states. If this town gets in financial trouble, we cannot declare bankruptcy. The only options we're going to have as a town council will be either to reduce our service significantly or raise our taxes. We cannot afford to put this town in that position by giving our money away.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chilcott?
Hi, I'm Angie Chilcott, Economic Development Director, and I would encourage anyone that's concerned with the tax abatements to come out to the tax talk that we're having. It's going to be very informative and answer all of your questions, and maybe just bring some clarity and education on the matter. I would like to address to the council and Panduit, thank you for being here. They are bringing a substantial investment to our community of approximately $76,525,000 and bringing the opportunity for growth of employment of 130 to 150 permanent jobs with an annual salary of $7.3 million. They are seeking the personal property incentive, to reinvest in the business for a potential expansion onto that building for further contribution to our local economy. I just wanted to give them a background.
Thank you.
Chris Holst, 800 West 73rd Avenue. I don't have to rehash everything, I just have one question. What does this do to make our community better?
It's public
How does
comment,
this make
Chris.
us a better community? I mean, we have the opportunity to interview for these positions, but so does everyone else. That's not even the issue. I believe that when companies come into our community, there should be a community portion of this that should make our community better. Is it going to make our parks better? Is Chief Nuisance going to have more resources? How does this make us better? Just a simple question, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chris. We will close the public hearing portion of this. Is there a motion from the council?
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Councilor Shi, for approval of Resolution 25-16. Any other discussion from the council? Hearing nothing else, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will open up for regular public, I'm sorry, there's another resolution, 25-19. It's a resolution providing for a transfer of appropriation balances from the among major budget classifications in the municipal court department in the general fund as requested by the proper officer and forwarded to the town council for its action pursuant to Indiana code. Ms. Hudson, do you have any more detail on this? This came to us, I think, today, didn't it?
It did. I wasn't involved in preparing it, but I do have a little bit of background on it. The original budget of the court, as ordered from Judge Parent, referring back to 2020, did not include a budget in the contractual services line. As you know, the court does have two contractual workers that work on budget items for them that normally have been paid from this line and done by this process, typically a transfer from the part-time secretary budget down to the contractual service line in order to pay those bills. And so that's simply what Ms. Flowers is asking to be done here with this resolution. And I think it covers most of the first quarter of the year for those expenses.
Very good, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Councilor Neal, second by Mrs. Uselak, for Resolution 25-19. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Now we will move on to public comment. Please state your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes for comments.
Pablo Payan, 8031 Massachusetts Street. In regards to TIF zones, here's an article from Indiana Economic Digest from 2007. I'll just read a highlight. It says, from Merrillville, for Ron Whiting, and some of you guys might remember him, and other local legislators, tax increment financing is a necessary evil. The Merrillville Town Councilman worries because TIF districts, which freeze property tax collections within specified graphic boundaries, force taxes upward for property tax owners elsewhere in the town. So you guys know that this is a problem. Another study from Ball State University. Special taxing districts known as tax increment finance districts, or TIFs, aren't having their intended impact on local economies, according to a recent study from Ball University. Michael Hicks, director of the Center of Business and Economic Research, says he and his colleagues looked at TIF use in every Indiana county over the last 10 years. What we found is that as TIFs were increased in a county, property tax rates in the non-TIF areas went up. Quote, in a normal setting, local governments would be able to raise enough revenue to handle problems that local government has in terms of transportation for school, public safety, water, sewers, and all sorts of things, Hicks says. So the fact that TIFs have doubled in 10 years probably means that that's not working well. So it goes back to, again, I mean, I don't know how you guys base your decisions. You guys said that based off previous experiences. This has been a problem since 2007. What do we have for the residents? More warehouses? We didn't put a bid for the convention center because we didn't have the land or the space. I mean, what does this do for the town? And every time I ask, we get no responses, no comments back. Nothing. I don't understand this.
Good evening. My name is Gene Velasco. I am the judge of the Merrillville Town Court. I want to personally thank Mr. Eric January, the clerk of the town, for his support in keeping the court open. As you can tell from the reports from the police department, the police is very active. They're filing a lot of cases. And if things go as planned, we should be okay. My concern, in addition to that, is that, well, one other thing is I'd like to thank the council for supporting the amendment to the budget so that two of my contract employees get paid. And finally, I know I've heard all evening about the controversy about the taxes and all that, and it seems like the town people that are being represented here by the people that are here, basically their concern is that they don't think they're getting anything out of it. My concern is that we may be giving away current tax monies, but at the same time, if we're giving away money, then we can't really complain about not having enough. Okay, we either have too much or have enough. So I just want people to know that, you know, in the long run, we'll be able to recapture some of the tax, but in the meantime, we must be doing okay because we're able to facilitate growth by other industries, and if that's the case, well, I'm happy for our town. That's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lois Whitaker. My address is 7111 Virginia Street, and I'm coming up here to introduce myself. My name is Lois, and I'm the president, CEO of Royalty Strategic Consultants, and I have been having many conversations with Mr. January about trying to secure funding for this town. Seemed like that's been the last topic of discussion for the last 30 minutes, and applying for federal and state grants. We have already identified 2 grants that the town could qualify for. One of them is to bring investments to the town of Merrillville, and I just wanted to introduce myself. And with these grants, we could provide jobs for the citizens, economic development, and workforce development opportunities for the town of Merrillville, and hopefully some projects for both the large businesses and the small businesses in the town. So again, my name is Lois, just coming to introduce myself. Thank you.
President Bella?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you a grant writer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President Bella, I want to ask, who should she contact? That's why I asked her to come so that we can get this process started because
Mr. Griffin would be a great start, absolutely.
Okay, because some of the grants are exigent where they need to be applied for next week and it's millions of dollars.
And then we'll go through Rhonda's committee,
Okay.
Budget and Finance. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Amy, 6950 Delaware.
Nothing bad to say today, too much, but I just wanted to let you know, so I'm the swim coach at the high school, so I'm like the only one who really uses it with my swim team. I know we talked a little bit on Saturday, not with, I keep forgetting your name, I'm sorry. Leona, thank you. So I know it's probably gonna be a hard ask to get the pool completely open, both pools, to the whole public, but my goal is seeing if I can get the community together and at least see if we can either get some swim lessons going, get the swim club back open. So I think those are gonna be our first steps. And then maybe see if I can get Amy Beckham to approve those. If we have a big community involvement, I actually just, when I went to talk to Ms. Mosley, she is totally on board. She wants to help out too, and she already knows some swimmers to help out and parents that would help out. So first steps are probably get the swim lessons going. If we can get Beckham on board with that, get an age group team back up, and then see if Beckham would be okay or not to open up the pools to the actual general public, because that's a big thing with, like, I know the pool is a little bit more into the school, and I think there's probably the safety issue that they're looking at right now on why they won't, and also keeping up with the pool if stuff happens. Lifeguards, we currently don't even have, in the high school, they stopped doing the swim classes because we just don't have lifeguards. So that's one of the other bigger issues that we're having right now with the pool, is that we just don't have lifeguards for the swim classes. So once we get that, we'll probably be able to get the pool more open to the public, depending on if Ms. Beckham allows that or not. But I just want to let you know my steps that I'm trying to take to get that pool open for our community. It might take a little bit of work, but that's my goal this summer and next summer, is to see if we can get the ball rolling on that, so.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Great.
Brian Messart, 68th place. I learned to swim at Merrillville High School shortly after Mr. President graduated, I think. So I would like to go back to those days where the public did have open swim and the public could go in that. I want to, with the Merrillville Change Agency, we want to thank the Merrillville Police. We know that the past couple of weeks have been kind of hectic and there's been some not so good things happening. We want to thank you guys all. Maybe one day we can get enough money in the town pot to give you guys all $10,000, $15,000 more. That'd be fabulous. I want to thank Councilor Chandler Felton. Saturday you held a Q&A, and I know you held it for Ward 3, but you invited everyone in Merrillville. Change Agency, we showed up. We had an awesome discussion. Hopefully, I know Councilor Shee's going to have one. We're looking forward to that. We'd like to have in all town council sit-down roundtable. And of course, Mr. President, I've asked you to coffee numerous times. Hopefully, you'll take me up on the offer. Our Change Agency, we are moving forward with a couple of plans. We want to put together a gardening club where people can grow flowers and vegetables. We're looking for property owners. Matt Lake has pointed us in the right direction. We might ask for some park area, maybe some of our unrealized parks. We're still working on bringing up the bike club, but these are the things that we want to plug into the town. We want to come to you. We're asking before, what's the residents getting? Well, we're coming up with the solutions. We're providing, this is what we want, and at some point in time, this is why we want to sit down and talk. We might need a little help to get things going, and we would like to count on your help and your support. That's what we're here for. We've been at the parks meetings. We've been at the town hall meetings. We want to open the dialogue. We want to get this discussions going so that we can make things better. Yes. And I know that things have been contentious in the past, but we need to change that and make it so that we're all on the same page moving forward, because there's a lot of great ideas out here and we can make it work. We're not asking you for freebies, or we're willing to do the work. We're willing to do the things. Sometimes, though, a little help, a little nudge here and there, a little support here and there would go a long way. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ursula Peppers. I live at 1201 West 56th Avenue. I was taught that the dumbest question is the one that I didn't ask, and so I would just like to ask, has anyone tried to negotiate when these larger companies come to Merrillville that perhaps they consider hiring some Merrillville residents? The only reason I ask this is because I've worked for some large companies, the casinos and Trump and Showboat, and I work at the steel mill, and we often have agreements where people that live in your city get hired. I mean, so many, whoever can pass. I'm just was wondering, has anyone even asked or negotiated?
We ask every company.
Okay.
Every time, every single time.
Thank you.
Sure do.
Have a good evening. That's all I want to ask.
No, it was a good suggestion.
Hi, my name is Bonita Brown. I live at 682 West 79th Avenue. Sheila, I'm going to have a sidebar with you with an update from the Merrillville Conservation. Went to that meeting last night. I'll let you know too, Leona. But I want to make a comment. There's different forms of communication. Silence is one because you're listening, and that's very good, okay? But when Pablo, was making his points in regards to tax abatement, and you're just sitting there with silence, and there's no feedback. The feedback is imperative. The feedback provides us with confidence in regards to your decision-making and your interest and care for the citizens, the entire citizens for Merrillville, okay? So there's different forms of communication. Yes, I'm new here to Merrillville, but I'm observing, and I'm a very good observer, too, of conduct as well. Silence and no feedback is not very good. That's concerning. Sheila, I'll talk to you later, okay? Thank you.
Chris Holstate, 100 West 73rd Avenue. I'd like to start by saying, how cool is it that we get to celebrate things tonight? We get to celebrate Mr. Mosby's achievements, his goals. By the way, folks, we need to get behind that young man, and we need to push him to the finish line. He's got the drive. Let's do everything we can to help him.
Yes.
And how about them Pirates guys? I wouldn't want to mess with those girls.
That's right.
It's good to celebrate things that are positive. We need to do more of that. Steve, I saw your guys out yesterday morning. A big thank you. I noticed all the potholes that have been filled. I saw the garbage bags. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You'll never know how that hits my heart to see all that garbage picked up. So once again, big thumbs up. And Mr. Leona, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
I wish everyone could have been in the room to see the positivity. It was very positive. Anyone who was there, Sheila, thank you for attending. Mr. Griffin attended as well.
Mr. January.
The dialogue was wonderful. We welcome that all the time. In addition, our friends from Panduit, welcome to Merrillville. We look forward to being part of our community. We look for all the positive things that can come about this particular relationship. And Mr. Pettit, I was very happy to hear that we're going to try to start mending some of these relationships with the Parks Department, with the Ross Township, and with the town. We need that. That makes us a better community when we can all share in what all of our resources are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So for announcements tonight, our next council meeting is March 25th at 6:30. The redevelopment commission meeting will be the same date at 6 o'clock. And guys, please mark your calendars for April 10th. We're going to have another town tax talk. There'll be plenty of Q&A time at the end for a variety of topics. But this particular talk is going to talk about allocation areas, TIF districts, and abatements. Those are the hot topic items right now, and we're going to help educate everybody about these topics and get educated ourselves. If there's no objections from the council, I will adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Hearing, I'm sorry? You can do your announcement, sure, she. Well, this is a little more personal, I wouldn't be involved. Yeah, you should do that.
All right, just a reminder that we're having coffee and conversations this Saturday, 9:30 to 11:30 at 5418 Broadway. Merrillville residents are welcome to come. You don't just have to be from Ward 2.
Thank you, we are adjourned.